Aloha! Welcome to the live webinar. I'm really excited to be here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just so you know that there is about a 90-second delay, and so it'll be a little bit difficult to see any of your comments and questions that you might have, so you'll have to give me moments to take a peek at those comments and questions later. I just want to welcome you all to this webinar today. I am so happy and grateful that you're here, especially because it's a big day for me. First, my family came in from out of town, and I'm feeling so excited and grateful that they're here because they have been such a major support system for me. And so they're here with me, and I also am super excited for you being here. I want to give a big shout out to the Superwomen group who has helped me overcome so many of my fears and challenges to even be here right now. I also want to say thank you, Project Freedom Team, for being here, for being my ohana, and also my support and being there for me as I begin this huge launch as well. And for all of you that had found me on Facebook ads, I'm so grateful that you clicked and registered because you are supposed to be here. This is your time, your moment to really get clear on who you are and find out what's stopping you and holding you back from really achieving the life that you deserve. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I'm so excited. Just a little bit about myself. I am living in beautiful Hawaii. I don't know if you can see, but I am sweating profusely. It's on top of my excitement and nerves. It's just really hot today. Barely any wind is blowing, and it is a hot one today. And I know that there are tons of you out there from all over the world right now. We have Australia in the house, Canada, and then so many different parts of the United States are here. And it's just so exciting to have you here. Anyhow, so more about me. I am an intuitive life coach, and I've really helped a lot of people going through transitions and struggles, help them become aware of their limiting beliefs so that they can move past them to step into their higher self. And so I help them get aligned with what they really want to do and their passion and purpose and really start to make action steps towards it. I also have been a massage therapist for the last 10 years now, and I have my own business that is thriving, and I'm super stoked because now it's almost on autopilot. I'm getting a ton of clients in, and I actually hired a few assistants, so I'm passing on the work to them so I can solely focus on my online business and intuitive life coaching. I'm really excited to share with you all of my gifts because I have so much that I've learned throughout the years, and I've had this wealth of knowledge that I needed a platform to share this with, and that's with you guys. So a little bit about me. You know, before I started my companies, I was working at restaurants as a waitress. I wasn't really sure of who I wanted to be, where I wanted to go, and so I had a skill and talent for massage therapy. I was a healer. And so I went to school, and right when I got out, I got this fantastic job working for a really high-end hotel called the Kahala Mandarin at the time. It's since then changed to the Kahala, but at that time it was one of the most popular hotels here. A lot of celebrities came, even George Bush came at one time, and it was just a magnificent place to work. The only problem is that I had to deal with the most awful boss. And I don't know if you've ever had to deal with that too, but she was horrible. She always was breathing down my neck and just making sure I was doing everything perfect. So I was really stepping on eggshells all the time, making sure I did everything perfect. But for her, perfect was never good enough. And one time she called me into a conference with two of the upper hand management, and they sat there and reamed me, and I was bursting out in tears because they were attacking my esteem, my integrity, and just really made me question myself. And later I realized that they actually did this to all of the employees that had worked there. It was their way of attempting to control their employees so that we would do exactly what they said. And it was at that time I decided I needed to do something more. And I stayed with my job because it paid a really good price, and I needed to make an income for myself. So I stayed there, but at the same time, I went to business school, and I went to the University of Hawaii, and I learned all that I could, but I realized there that they were prepping me to be an employee for a larger corporation. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I wanted to really live my life and go out there and share my own passions and purpose without someone breathing down my neck. I wanted to be the boss. And so when I finished with school, I was really lost and confused. I felt really scared to even put myself out there, and I wasn't even sure of what resources I should use or if I even had the skills to even step out on my own. And so that's why I wanted to share this webinar series with you, because we all have different blocks that keep us from really manifesting what we truly want and desire for ourselves and for our business. And for me, it was really understanding what it needed to take to put myself out there. And so this webinar series is designed as a progressive journey to really learn about the different blocks that we may encounter that keeps us from getting to that point in our lives that we're really thriving rather than just surviving. And I wanted to introduce to you my husband. He's here today, and he's also an entrepreneur, and he has been through so many ups and downs and fears and anxieties, and he pushed himself through to really come to a place where he recognized that he has a gift, he has a meaning and purpose greater than all of his fears, and he stepped into it ready to take on the world. And so I would like to introduce to you Mr. Isaac Box, my husband.
Hello, everybody. Oh, so first of all, don't worry. We're bringing Candace back here very quickly. I'm going to make this real short. Isn't she wonderful? I love her so much. She's great. So, hi, my name is Isaac Box. Just going to share with you guys some personal stuff for me. Basically, I didn't even realize I was an entrepreneur, believe it or not, until maybe about 9 months ago when I was in a car with a friend of mine, and he kind of told me something, and it clicked in my head, and I'll tell you what that is in a minute. First, I want to tell you guys, basically, you know, I lived my entire 20s, you know, working from job to job. I mean, I'll tell you, sometimes the best thing for me, literally, I would go into a job that day. I've had it for 6 months, and I would quit that morning. I just didn't want to work anymore. I'd go in and I'd quit, and then walking out of that job was just an amazing feeling. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I did that a lot. So I was actually a functioning alcoholic, believe it or not. So I was able to hold my last job for about 5 years. It's a laborious job. It's a good job cleaning carpets. I think I made about $66,000 a year. It's pretty good. But something just wasn't clicking for me. I knew there was more, but I had given in, and I had quit on my dreams. And then a traumatic incident happened to me about 5 years ago that changed my whole mindset, and I started wanting more out of life, and I started actually working deeply on myself and really looking inwards, and that's where the magic happened. And that is where the magic happens actually in life, is when we stop looking externally and stop looking at everything out here and bring the view inside. And we say, what can I do to better serve me? What can I let go of? What do I need to work on? What can I learn? What can I discover? And the truth is what I found is we know the answers. We always know the answers. We just have to allow it. We just have to allow ourselves to be. And if we're these powerful beings and we know all these wonderful things, and it's true, we do. We are who we already want to be. We're already that person. We just have to step into it. And if we are that already, why do we not? Why are we not? Why can't we just be that? It's blocks, blocks, interferences, blocks and resistance, things that we're just unaware of. There's little pieces of ourselves that are fighting against us. We're our own worst enemies. And that's when my life really started to change. So about 2 years after that, I had became a personal trainer, and 3 years ago, I decided to move to Hawaii. I had $100 in my pocket, and I moved to Hawaii and opened up my own personal training business. And it took about a couple of months, but I got my first client. I was paying the bills, And now it's 3 years later. I'm also a corrective exercise specialist, and I love taking people and just really changing their lifestyle, changing their habits, taking pain they've had for 10 years, getting rid of it. I deal with body, mind, spirit, emotion, because it's not just physical. There's all these different levels and layers. So everything that I've learned, I'm able to also teach people. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And what it was is I actually had realized that as much as I loved it, my income was on a salary cap, because I had to personally be there with my client and spend the time with them to get paid. So I needed to actually find something that would work for me, where I didn't have to be around, where I didn't have to be there to get paid. So I said, oh, this internet thing looks pretty cool. And about a year ago, I found this resource that was just wonderful, and I knew it was awesome right off the bat. It was a great resource. I jumped on it. And again, guys, I didn't know anything about computers. I didn't realize anything about internet marketing or sales or anything like that. I just went out and did it. In my first 30 days, I actually earned just about $5,000, and I doubled my annual income in less than a year. So the funny thing is when I started this business, I had watched a friend of mine for about 9 months, and so I joined up. And you know, he started working out with me. He was already in the business. He wanted to get fit like me and know what I know. So I said, sure, man, come work out with me, dude. You can come do that. So we were in the car one day, and I told him my story about. I said, man, I don't even know what an entrepreneur is. I'm not an entrepreneur. And I said, you know, I moved to Hawaii 3 years ago and I started a business. So what? And he goes, Isaac, that's pretty entrepreneurial. That's pretty entrepreneurial, Isaac. And it clicked in my head. And I just realized that the reason I never did anything like that before was I didn't have the right resources. I didn't have the belief in myself. I had a lot of resistance to moving forward. And once I was able to actually clear that, I became an entrepreneur. And being an entrepreneur to me is really just growing your imagination. And your income's only limited by your imagination. Your lifestyle's only limited by your imagination. So the more my imagination grew, the more, you know, things that I looked at, and I said, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I do this? This is possible. And so now we're here. Now we're here talking to you wonderful people, and we want to share with you all the resources that we have found. We want to share them with you because we want to help you guys get past whatever blocks, whatever's holding you back. We want you guys to allow yourself to be that wonderful, awesome person that you really are. Okay? So without any further ado, I'd actually like to bring back Candace and let her take a hold of this. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And we'll probably see you guys around. I might be popping in here every now and then. So it's not goodbye. It's just goodbye for now. Bye, guys. Kiss.
Thanks, guys. Isn't he wonderful? He's kind of a pain in my butt sometimes, but at the same time, I love him so much. And he has been a source of inspiration and support for me, especially as I take myself on to this new level. This platform that I'm utilizing has given me, gosh, the technical skills, the wherewithal to really put myself out there and reach a global scale. And I mean, I'm on this webinar itself, like I said, there are people from all over the world, and it just warms my heart that they all came here to register and be a part of this webinar. And so before I get into the 5 major blocks that affect where you want to go and what you want to do for your life, I'd like to also share with you why I'm doing this. The reason why I'm doing this is because I really want to share with you that I have been where you have been, and it's not easy. And the biggest thing that gets in our ways is ourself. We're not really in a place where we can understand the saboteur or the victim mentality that is operating within us. And so one of the lessons I have for you today is learning about archetypes. Archetypes have been around for many eons. So many people use it in movies and videos. It's the hero, the heroine. It's the different moms, dads, sons, sorcerers, and engineers that operate collectively within us. Carl Jung, the famous psychoanalyst, he was the first one who really created this archetype and documented it. And he was believing that there's this collective unconscious where all of us fall within, that we begin to run our lives unconsciously from these archetypes. And Carolyn Mays, one of my most favorite authors, she is in your face, really all about speaking the truth and getting you to wake up and be aware to who you are. And so I'm going to be sharing with you a few slides. So if you'll bear with me, I'm just going to do a screen share. And this is called the 4 Archetypes of Survival. There are 4 main ones that are deeply involved in your most pressing challenges related to survival. Each one represents different issues, fears, and vulnerabilities that you need to confront and overcome. In doing so, you come to see that these 4 archetypes become your most trusted allies or guardians, which can represent spiritual as well as material strengths. They become a perspective of yourself that will preserve your integrity, refusing you to negotiate away who you are in the name of survival. And so I'm going to go into each of these energies, and I want you to understand that this is unconscious patterns within us that operate in our lives that keep us from doing what we want to be doing. So the first one, first we're going to go into the shadow versus light. Each of the archetypes have a shadow side and a light side, which can be the ulterior motive, which is hiding underneath why you do things, or the intention, which is why you choose to do what you do. When you look at your shadow side, the reason why we don't know much about it, because it's really not that familiar to our conscious mind. We don't really know that it's operating. It just comes out when we begin to react rather than respond responsibly. Many times the shadow side are your fear patterns that control your behavior, and you don't even know that it's been happening because you've been repeating it over and over again. Sometimes I remember like catching myself like, wait a minute, I just had this problem with the last boyfriend a while ago. Why is it happening again? And that is the pattern that begins to come up. Each archetype can be our nemesis, which holds us back from our light and really causes us to be stuck in our story. What we need to do with these archetypes is really to learn what we need in each situation. Do we need to get along with this archetype? Do we give into it? Do we resist? Or do we end up giving love and showing it a different way? Sometimes this archetype becomes super hostile and unruly when it is ignored or misunderstood. Sometimes it builds up inside of you and becomes this power pack explosive side of you that you don't even know where it came from, and then it lashes out on people or even yourself. Sometimes we just need to recognize, are we beginning to justify ourselves and our actions from the shadow side of our archetypes? Are we judging others and creating excuses while knowing better? So really understanding the shadow side will bring into light what is really going on inside of us, because this is the inner aspects that are operating within us. And when we can understand the light side, we see that these archetypes are our guardians, because it keeps us from really going into those places. It helps us to step up into our power and really act from our true selves. With this light side, it gives us the highest potential that is unlimited, and you can actualize what you're willing to confront with your shadow. with the light side, you're able to engage in a journey of from living outside of yourself and into this interior world, so you can really understand your shadow. So I want to ask you, who could you be if you live constantly with your genuine and authentic power, rather than from this place that is victimized or sabotages? Here on the light side, you begin to put yourself first. You become capable, strong, and confident, even loving and open and genuine with others. And this last one, spiritual accountability, is a tough one for all of us. It even is a really tough one for me, because we truly do know the truth. And that truth is what we have to act from, because if we don't, we get more of our shadow side. So really holding ourselves accountable to be able to really come from a place that is truly a place of sharing ourselves. So now we're going to come to the first archetype, and the child is one archetype that all of us has. There's the magical child, the wounded child, the orphan child, and the nature child. And I'm just going to read to you the light and shadow attributes. Actually, I'm just going to escape this moment and just check in and make sure we're all on the same page. Hi, guys. I actually have the cards here, so I just want to share this with you. I was noticing on my other computer, because I have it running in the other side, that for some reason it is blocked. So I just want to make sure that you're still here. So if you have a moment to just write down a comment down below and just let me know that you're here and listening and you can hear my voice and hopefully see my screen, I would greatly appreciate it. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes just because there's that lag of time, and I just want to make sure you're here. I think what I just realized is it wasn't showing my slides, and I apologize. It was stuck on the homework page, which is what you guys have been looking at. So what I was sharing with you was kind of hard to understand, but hopefully you got the gist of it, and I'll share with you that slide a little bit later. Okay, so I think I'm right back on board. So again, the different children here, it's going to be backwards, but I want to share with you the light attribute and the shadow attribute. So for the magical child, the light attribute is basically seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things, and it has a strong belief that all is possible. The shadow attribute is pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, basically believing that energy and action are not required for growth. And so they stay stuck. The next one is the wounded child. The wounded child light attributes, it helps us awaken our compassion and desire to serve others. It helps us be open and learn the path of forgiveness. The shadow attribute basically blames all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds, and it resists moving through forgiveness. And that's a tough one, because a lot of the wounded child come from abusive families. And so they're mad at the world, they're angry with others, and so they take out that anger on the world and on themselves. The next one is the orphan child. The light attributes of the orphan child are independence, based on learning to go all on their own. And they're conquering their fear of surviving and beginning to thrive. The shadow attributes are feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation and seeking inappropriate surrogate families. Because a lot of time with the orphan child, they were abandoned by their families. They felt like they didn't even belong to their families if they were in one. They felt like the outcast or the black sheep, so it was hard for them to really live this childlike life because they all had to grow up really fast and just find their way. And the last one is the child of nature. The light attributes are friendships with animals, communication with nature spirits, and their shadow side becomes a tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment. And that's because when they lose sight of being a part of everything, nature, the world, they just start to get super mad. So I'm going to go back to my screen share, and I'm going to attempt to do this from a different angle because it wasn't sharing properly. So I apologize again about that. Technical difficulties. Okay. So let's go, oops, here. Okay, I think this is the best way to share, only because the other way was not showing my slides, so I apologize. Okay, so back to the child. The child, it begins to manifest because we didn't receive the nurturance necessary to become responsible and independent. This is a place where we long for approval and seek our parents and authority figure in others. So when your child, inner archetype child comes out, it's that piece of you that is really wanting to just get the support of others. It's really wanting that approval from mommy or daddy, and so we'll go to friends or family or lovers and seek their approval. The benefits of coming from the inner child, which is from this victim standpoint, is that we get to stay stuck and blame others. We throw temper tantrums. We become dependent on others, and that way we don't become responsible for ourselves. The core issue underneath this child archetype is really learning the dependency and responsibility. When do we need to be responsible, and when to have healthy dependency? I know I have gone in the past and become codependent with my lovers, and I'm always like, as you wish, whatever you want, and I didn't have a voice for myself. And it was because I was literally seeking that approval from my father figure, and I was treating my boyfriends at the time with this reverence that they could come and save me. So the solution to this is to really give your inner child support and let them know that you're there for them. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's so great to really sit there and talk with your inner child, especially when it's acting out. To really say, you know, I've got your back, I'm here for you, we can do this together. It really calms that child down so it doesn't throw the temper tantrums, so it doesn't blame others or feel needy of others. Also, when you come into this child archetype for the light attribute, you begin to tap into this all these creative resources. I don't know if you have children or are around children, but they are such imaginative beings. They go around and make up so many things that have solutions to everything. And it's just amazing the things that they come up with. And as an adult, if you can tap into that childlike inspiration, like imagine all the things that you could create and realize that there's just so much possibility for you out there. Another solution for the inner child is to really to have boundaries with yourself, to really learn, like, yes, I can do this on my own rather than always asking for somebody else to do it. And it's also to explore and adventure and be out there in the world without having your rational mind weigh on you and not take risks. Because a lot of times, you know, as kids, they kind of just go for it. They do whatever it takes to go across the street with their partners or build a fort or make believe and play house. They just really go for whatever inspires them and makes them feel happy. And so at the end of this child information, what I'd like to do is come up with an affirmation, especially when that the child archetype comes into play. And for me, it is, I am lighthearted and innocent and open to possibilities. Because when you can tap into that child self and really give that child the nurturance and the love that it needs and acknowledgement, it doesn't act out on you, and it keeps you from becoming dependent and blaming others. The next role is the victim. And this victim, it begins to be the guardian of self-esteem. It begins to manifest in our lives when we're abused, or we don't get what we want, or we're wrongly punished. The negative benefits that we receive from staying within victim is we get the sympathy from others. I don't know about you, but I know sometimes, you know, when I'm feeling down and out, and or maybe felt victimized, I call a friend to like get that support from them. But it's more negative support, like keeping me in that story rather than like learning from it and moving forward. It also gives us this license to complain. Like we waste so much time and energy on complaining and really becoming a victim to the story. And then another negative benefit that we have is remaining stuck in our story. We basically repeat the story over and over again, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. I know of a friend that has been complaining about the same thing over and over again since, I don't know, high school maybe. And when I talk to her again, it's in the same place, and she just chooses to remain in this victimhood because she continues to get the sympathy. She continues to complain, and then it doesn't allow her to just step up and take responsibility. It's become this comfortable place for her. The core issue within this is really to gain personal power and take responsibility for yourself. When you start to realize that you have this ability to make a choice and build yourself up, you really have a way to step out of being victimized and into this being responsible, being an adult. So the solution is to make a commitment and act on your own behalf and well-being no matter what. And sometimes this sounds really hard to do because, you know, as a victim, we need others. We need others to help us, to be there for us, to sympathize with us. But when we can take control over ourselves and really act for ourselves no matter what, no matter who we're around, and it will literally change everything, because all of a sudden people will see that you're not someone to be victimized. This is also another great solution, is to create your personal boundaries. When you create your personal boundaries, you realize that nothing can hurt you because you are strong and you have the right defense mechanisms. You're smart and you're so wise that you would not even put yourself in those situations again. So my affirmation for this one is, I am committed to my empowerment. And when I am committed to my empowerment, I am able to really step into my power rather than becoming a victim to my circumstances. And I can rise above it and really do what it takes to become this adult, this responsible adult, and do whatever I need to make things happen for myself. So the next one, the third one of the 4 archetypes of survival, is the Saboteur. And this one is a heavy one because we all know that this one exists. We all know that this one is the biggest one that keeps us from where we want to go and what we want to do. And it's the most difficult to understand because it is associated with betrayal. We betray ourselves and we don't even know it. Yet the purpose of this archetype is not to sabotage you, but to help you learn in many ways in which you undermine yourself and really see yourself as playing small rather than this amazing, beautiful, bright light ready to do whatever it takes out there in the world. So I want to ask you, how often do you set new plans in motion only to end up standing in your own way because the fears undermine those optimistic plans? Or when is it the time that you begin a new relationship and then begin to destroy it because you begin to imagine that they're going to hurt you, or it's going to be a painful outcome, so you just let it go in the first place? When you begin to work with this relationship and with yourself, this saboteur archetype, you begin to realize that there's this power struggle within you, this destructive pattern that keeps going on and on because you fear others and you even fear yourself. So the manifestation of this is when you realize that it really comes out in times of conflict or disruption in your life. When there's about to be a huge change, this saboteur comes up and starts talking to you, saying, there's no way you can do that. There's no way that anyone's going to listen to you. There's no way that someone's going to be here and be a part of you, of your team. And so we begin to just doubt ourselves and we stop ourselves. But if you see here, this is the guardian of choice. We have a choice. We have a choice to listen to that voice, or we can choose what we've always known and wanted, which is our higher self and our passion and purpose. So the negative benefits to this is oftentimes we deflect kindness. And what happens is, like, if someone were to say, oh, you were so pretty, we're like, oh, no, thanks though, but no. And we basically sabotage ourselves from even accepting this kind word from somebody. It gives us this ability to remain invisible because it stops us dead in our tracks and keeps us in this comfortable zone where no one notices who we are. We're just kind of going through this ease and flow of life, and it's basically where you're not making any waves. You're just staying in this kind of flatline zone where nothing is really going on or nothing's really dropping off the face of the earth. You're just in this comfortable zone. So the core issue of this is being able to invite fear to change your life. And in this fear, it allows you to realize that there's all these opportunities that shape and deepen your spirit. So if you can overcome this fear and just make a choice, you can really step into this light attribute of empowerment and bringing things to life. And so the solution is taking an action, any action, to follow your intuition rather than your own rational thought. Because the rational thought is sometimes the one that is the saboteur saying, no, you don't have any money to do this. No, you can't have that kind of work. You don't even know how to do it. And it just sabotages you right on the spot without realizing that you can learn the skills. You can do what you need to do to make it all happen. So again, I can't reiterate enough. This is the place where you really just want to listen to that voice within you and respond to it. Because as you respond to it more and more, it begins to grow this inner part of you that is empowered and is ready to take on any new project or any endeavor because you have your back rather than sabotaging your back. So the affirmation that I have here is, I trust myself to make the right choices for the betterment of me. So this is where I realize that I have made a lot of mistakes. I have allowed my patterns to take control of me, but I realize I have a choice, and that choice is I can stop myself or I can move forward. And as I created this webinar, or as I invited every one of you out here, I had that choice to keep moving forward. But I have to admit, there were those times the saboteur archetype came through and was like, you don't even know what you're doing. Oh, that page looks horrible. They're not even going to look at it. Or that ad is horrible. And it was literally that saboteur keeping me safe and in my comfort zone. So I want to move on to the last of the archetypes, and the four main archetypes at least. There actually is a dozen of them, just so you know. But these are the four common ones that really operate in all of our lives. And the prostitute is the guardian of faith. Now, when most people think of the archetype prostitute, it's basically selling yourself for money. And or they think of prostitutes or dancers or any of that sort. But here, the prostitute is really a place where we've come to negotiate our integrity and spirit because we don't feel safe or secure, or our security is being threatened. A lot of times this begins to manifest when we're in bad marriages or miserable jobs, when the financial security is really being challenged. The negative benefits is that we begin to create these false shortcuts in life, thinking that we can get rich quick somehow, some way, so we jump from one opportunity to the next. And it also gives us this false sense of security. It makes us think that, oh, at least I have this. If I'm talking to this guy, he'll promote me, he'll be able to help support me, and this and that. But what we don't realize is we're actually selling our spirit. The core issue of the prostitute is realizing how much are you willing to sell yourself for the sake of physical security. Now, I don't know about you, but I have gone into a place in my life where I wasn't sure where I was going to get my money from or how I was going to survive. And I literally took a step into exotic dance and started dancing for money. At the time, I was just fresh out of high school and really learning about what it took to live on my own, especially here in Hawaii. It's not an easy place. And I realized that the best money to make is as an exotic dancer. And I worked there for 4 years. The money was great, but my soul and myself, it was dying inside, and I really started losing sight of me. I just became super numb to this world, and I just really had a lot of times of depression and unease because, you know, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was really in a place that was low, but I needed a way to survive, and this is one of the ways I knew. And thankfully, I was able to get out of it. I actually moved away for a little bit and lived on this 42-acre land in Oregon and just recovered back to myself. I took time to meditate and to really just find myself again and realize that that's not what I needed to do to make it in this world. And so in that time, like the solution, it's being able to name your thoughts and fears and talk to it so you don't compromise yourself. I realized that I was doing something that I didn't want to be doing anymore, and I was putting myself in situations that weren't even making me feel alive. It made me feel sad, depressed, and dirty, and I just really finally told myself it's enough. It's time to keep moving forward and going after who I really am and what I really want. And my affirmation here is I love and honor myself and know that the universe is conspiring with me to take care of my needs. And when I really stepped into that affirmation, it's like the light at the end of the tunnel started to like really come closer to me. Like I saw that I had so much support and so much people that loved me and wanted to help me, and I started to reach out and ask for support, like find the right jobs and really discover who I am. And so this is a place where I found my faith again and found who I was. So those are the 4 archetypes. And a lot of times these 4 archetypes are going to show up again and again in your life. Like the shadow child. Its only concern is with its well-being, and it will try to scare you back into being dependent on others. The shadow of the victim will reveal its victimhood side and will entice you to begin to feel sorry for yourself for ever leaving whatever you were doing in the first place. The shadow of the prostitute will urge you to sell out of your integrity and your vision of your true independence at the first opportunity it gets. And the shadow saboteur will play to your suspicions that you just aren't good enough to accomplish anything on your own. So it is here that you have to strengthen your soul identity until it is strong enough to really overcome all these fears. And one way to do that is to understand these 4 archetypes. And so I have homework for you guys. And I really would like for you to notice when these archetypes begin to show themselves in your life and write down how they help you step into your power or how they hinder you from moving forward. And the second piece of homework I'd like you to do is to create a positive affirmation for each archetype according to you, so that when these archetypes show its face, rather than saying, oh, there goes my victim again, oh, there's my saboteur, it's being able to speak to yourself lovingly and kindly and say, you know, I am trusting in the universe, and I believe wholeheartedly that it's conspiring with me to offer the most amazing opportunities for my life. So here I want you to email your answers to me at CandiceBox11@gmail.com. And in the next webinar, I'd like to be able to share them, and I'll say them anonymously. But if I may, I'd love to share with people who are on this webinar some of the things that you have learned about your archetypes. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and come back to you guys. Hi. Thank you so much for listening to that. When I really discovered the 4 archetypes, I was just in awe because I started to recognize my saboteur, my victim, my child, and also the prostitute when it started to just take hold over me. And it really, again, is that place where you are in that fear. When you're in fear, the only things that come out are these shadow aspects of the archetypes. So really pay attention to when that comes out, and then begin to empower yourself and give the light attributes to it so that you can really overcome. So the next webinar that I'm going to be having on Tuesday, next week Tuesday, by the way, this is a 6-series course. So today was the introduction, and I wanted to give you an inside look at your inner environment, which is through these archetypes. And the next one, we're really going to dive deep into the 5 major roadblocks that really stop you from really truly stepping into the life that you truly desire. And I'm going to keep you in the dark about them for a little while because I don't want you to look ahead. I don't want you to skip. I want you to just stay tuned and be present and be a part of these webinars, because I know for me that it has truly changed my life and where I am now. I mean, I cannot even believe that I'm living in this beautiful home, married to my husband, Isaac Box. I have a fluffy white Maltese dog that just gives me so much joy and love. I have amazing in-laws and great relationships with my family now, and 2 careers that are thriving, and I'm continuing to create and move forward because I'm not allowing these archetypes, the shadow archetypes, to stop me, nor the 5 major roadblocks that you're about to discover. And so I invite you to stay tuned, keep plugged in, and come back next Tuesday, as well as share the webinar with your friends and family, or maybe someone who may need this at the moment. You know, somebody that's willing and ready to take themselves on to another level. Because I truly believe in the patterns of our mindset really cause what is our outcome. You know, when we can truly come to a place where we understand ourselves, the light and the dark attributes of ourselves, we can really move forward with this awareness and make a different choice. So I really want to thank you. I want to offer this last couple of 10 minutes to anybody who has any questions or comments. So I'm just going to hold off here for a minute and just check the comment thread. And thank you. I really appreciate you and being here with me today. This has been an amazing journey, and I know there's been a few technical difficulties. And for me, this is like one of my first times with my own webinar series. So please bear with me as I navigate through all this technical stuff. So I'm just going to go to the comment thread and see if there is anything there. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and comment now. By the way, this is Carolyn Mays' book. It's called Sacred Contracts. And she even has a card deck with what I was showing you about the different archetypes that you have. And we do have 12 main ones. And these 4 are the ones that really truly operate in our times of fear. So I'm not seeing anything on the comment thread. What I do want to show you is when you scroll down below, there is a yellow Get Access button. And that basically is getting access to the resource that I utilize to really promote myself out there. And if that's something that you want to get started with, go ahead and get that Get Now access so that you can learn the different tools that I have to really promote myself worldwide and get all these people from all over the world to this webinar today. So you can check that out. Also, if you want to have a private coaching session with me, I do phone conversations as well as Skype. So if that is something that interests you, you can go ahead and private message me on Facebook or email me, again, at CandiceBox11@gmail.com, and then I'd love to work with you. I've helped people, again, through so many transitions and struggles to help them understand, again, the inner workings of their environment to get them to this next level. Because sometimes we can only take ourselves up to a point, and then we need the support to really get past those points to get into our higher selves. So I don't see any comments, but I just want to say again thank you, and I look forward to being with you next week, Tuesday. I'm not even sure the date, so I'm just going to take a peek at my calendar behind me. It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 3 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks again so much, and aloha, and enjoy the rest of your evening or your day. Aloha.